Hello there, and welcome to the first ever podcast episode of The Purple Breakdown, a fan-made podcast that covers news and events revolving around the Baltimore Ravens and just giving my opinion on what's going on and looking at the stats and trying to see where we're going forward. My name is Alex, and I will be your host for this show, and I'm excited to be here. I've been really inspired to make this podcast by the recent events that have happened around the Baltimore Ravens, especially this past season, and some friends pushing me and giving me the confidence to make this. So I'm excited to be here. I think it's best if we just dive straight into this and get going. So this past season has been, I don't think there's any other way to put it other than a disappointment for the fan base as a whole. We were touted as being one of the favorites for the Super Bowl, one of the top 2, 3, depending on who you ask. But we were up there. We're supposed to be one of the favorites to go on into the postseason, have a defense that not many people could beat, have an offense that about nobody could stop. And instead, we turned into a team that has the 24th overall ranked defense and the 16th overall ranked offense, and a season that just disappointed everyone. And I think this is really, really encapsulated inside this final game when the Ravens and the Steelers played for the AFC North title. And if the Ravens had won that, we would have been crowned it would have been the first time that the Ravens or any other team in the AFC North would have won 3 straight title or division titles in a row. And instead, the Steelers took it out from under us because the Ravens, when it came down to it, could not perform when they needed to. And I think that is what this whole year has been. That the Ravens had these high expectations. Everyone had these high expectations. And here's the bar, here's where we hit. And we just really didn't live up to what we were supposed to. And the players even said that in the post-game conferences for the Ravens-Steelers game. Roquan was coming out and he was talking that it sucks. I mean, they did not make the adaptations that they needed to, a next man up mentality that was needed to be there, especially when Kyle Hamilton goes down. And I'll say, Kyle Hamilton is such a big piece of that defense, and replacing him, you can't replace him. You can't replace what Kyle Hamilton does with what he does up on the line, what he does in the backfield. I mean, he is everywhere. He makes the open field tackles. He gets past the D lineman and wreaks havoc in the backfield, and he can step back up as safety, and he does everything. And the play calling and coming out and just him being able to see, you can't replace that. But there's no excuse for him going down, the team coming onto that field, and in the fourth quarter letting up 133 yards of passing by Aaron Rodgers and a Steelers offense that did not have DK Metcalf out on that field. That should not have happened. And it did. The Ravens did not step up and play when it mattered. And I think that's been the highlight of this whole year. Inconsistency on the defensive side. Inconsistency on the offensive side. We have never played a game with full complementary football on either side this year yet. I mean, there was times where it came really close and it felt like we were complimenting both sides, but I would even say, you look at strength of schedule sometimes, and those games came against easier teams, and nothing against the winning streak that the Ravens went on and how good that felt to be going from 1-5, and now we're back in the talk. We're leading the AFC North, and we lose the Steelers, and now we're back in the talk. Highs and lows, up and down, and that's what Humphrey said too. Humphrey is like the highs and lows of this whole season. But that even highlights it more. And that's how I'm feeling about this. Looking at a team that should have performed and did not. And this isn't the first year that it's happened. It has happened for several years in a row now. When Ravens, we all thought, the Ravens fan base, we thought, hey, we have the team. This is a special team this year. We're going to go on. We're going to play. We're going to play well. We're going to play hard. We're going to do our old style football. Smash mouth on the defense. We don't care. We're just going to bully ball you the whole way. Offense, bully ball, run it down your throat, and now we have a quarterback that can run and throw. And every year, something happens, whether it's Tyler Loop missing a game-winning field goal, whether it's Mark Andrews dropping a 2-point conversion that would have taken us into overtime, whether it is Zay Flowers fumbling a ball. It's something. And every year, the Ravens fall short because of themselves. It's plain and simple. Nothing more than that. And I think at some point, you got to look at it and go, it's more than just the players. Because this team really does have special players on it. I mean, besides the list of injuries this year and everything that's happened in the past, this team really has key pieces on it that can move forward, move the ball, play good defense, and we've seen that. Madubuike has been an amazing defensive lineman. I mean, when he's out on the field, it's something different. He was out a good chunk of the year. Can't replace that, but you got to have next man up mentality. Kyle Hamilton going down, Teddy Buchanan going down, and he was having an amazing rookie year. I mean, there's just stuff that's hard to look at. But I did like Trenton Simpson in that moment when he did step up. I know he'd been sort of replaced by Teddy Buchanan being played more. And then these past few games, Trenton was actually making some plays that I was quite impressed by. But I think the problems go just beyond the players, and it also went to the coaching staff. That at some point, the coaching staff has to put the players in situations to succeed and uphold them to standards. And if we keep losing because of these, what we would call flukes, at some point, where's the coaching staff prepping us for that? Where are we going with this? And I think that the first place to analyze this is really, really with the defense. And so I'm going to jump in now and transition a little from just the feelings on stuff. I want this podcast to go in and really look and analyze some of the stats that go along with this. I think the Ravens all remember 3 years ago now, the defense we had. Oh boy, that was such a good defense. I mean, that was a time when the defense felt like the old time. The old Ravens defense. Roquan out there. May not be the same vibe as Ray Lewis, but oh boy, everyone's feeling nice about that defense. To then Zach Orr coming in. Zach Orr, been a Raven for a while, started as a player, went up through the organization, eventually now promoted to DC, defensive coordinator under John Harbaugh. And the defense went from up here to the next year being ranked 10th overall. And you would think, 10th overall, that's not a bad defense. I mean, it's 10. There's 32 teams in the league. You've beat out 22 others. That's not horrible. Just that number does not describe the defense. I mean, you look at it, and we allowed 5,511 total yards, of which 4,150 were passing and 1,361 were rushing. Against the pass, we were the first-ranked defense against the pass. There's 32 teams in the league. There was one worse than us. That says a lot. I mean, you're letting up 244 yards a game of passing. That's horrible. I mean, no excuse to that. I mean, we were letting quarterbacks have a 91 QBR rating against us. They were getting 63.4% completion rate, a 91 QBR rating. They were getting 11.3 yards per reception. We let up 396 receptions in total. I mean, if you count attentions that they had at it, we were letting up 7.2 yards in attention through the air. I mean, that's ridiculous. I remember the games where Joe Burrow was playing us just last year. And Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow went off on us. It was bad, both those games. And one of them we technically shouldn't maybe have not won because of a face mask on Joe Burrow at the end, but the refs didn't see it, so we won. I mean, it says something that in 2024, we let up 58 20-yard or more passes. That's just 20 or more. I look at that number, I'm like, oh, I hate that number. That's a bad number. And then we also let up 6 of 40 or more. Their longest that we let up was a 70-yard long pass. That's bad. And that all started coming along when Zach Orr comes in. I'll say there's been defensive problems against the pass in the past too. It's not like it's new. But going from one of the best defenses and being able to knock the pass back to what that was, horrible. But on the other flip side of the coin, I mean, you have bad, you flip the coin. We were pretty good against the rush. We were the first overall against the rush. We allowed 80.1, I think, rushing yards per game. So that's not bad. I mean, that's not horrible at all. I think it was, if my stats are right, it's 3.6 yards per carry that we were letting up. It's not horrible. We had, I think, 69 rushing yards let up in total for first downs. Yeah, 69 rushing first downs is what we let up. I think we had let up 218 first downs through the air. So the rush defense was pretty good. I mean, you're talking 3 rushes of 20 or plus yards and none over 40. The longest rush we let up was a 25-yard rushing touchdown. So that's not bad. I do like that. But there's some other problems to be highlighted within it, with Zach Orr taking over the defense and us going from hitting the quarterback, sacking pressures and everything to last year we got 54, and I think for HUR too, which is HUR is just essentially putting pressure on the quarterback and making them have a bad throw. So you're not getting a sack, but you force them to make a bad throw because you put enough pressure on them. So you have 54 sacks, 49, and that feels good. However, it came in spurts. It came in a lot of spurts. I mean, I like it, but more consistently over the season, I would like to see that more, not just in spurts. And this keeps going forward. I mean, the red zone defense was not bad. It was ranked 11. It was actually pretty good. It was a 52.9% in the red zone. And third down defense was ranked 17th at 39.8%. And that was all last year. So as a whole, your rush defense is pretty good. Your pass defense is not. And in total, we let up, how many touchdowns did we let up? I gotta look this one up. Let me find it here. We up, I'm scoring 39 touchdowns, 27 passing, 12 rushing. Not horrible. Now, last year's defense had a massive turnaround. I mean, you're talking, our schedule went, we played the Chiefs, we played the Raiders, so we went 0-2, losing the start. But then we went Cowboys, Bills, Bengals, Commanders, Bucks. And we won all 5 of those in a row. I'll say there were some games in there that I really liked what the defense was doing. Like the Bills game was a shutout. I mean, 35-10. Beautiful defense. Started the bang off with a Derrick Henry rush on first down, blew through the defensive line. I mean, the hole that the O-line created was beautiful, and then just took off, went past the secondary and linebackers, and was gone. But before that, the 3 games before that, we let up 27 points to the Chiefs, we let up 26 points to the Raiders, and we let up 25 points to the Cowboys. Chiefs, somewhat understand. I mean, they're a good team, especially at that time. If they're a pretty good team, they're going to go on to the Super Bowl. They're not just a pretty good team, they are a great team at the time. Well, flip the coin. Cowboys, you let up 25 points too. Okay, can't give too much hate. George Pickens. And as much as everyone likes to diss on Dak Prescott, I'm looking at him and I don't think he's absolutely horrible. I mean, the way he can chuck the ball down the field, he gets down there. And the combo this year, sidetracking a little, the combo this year between George Pickens and Dak Prescott, I absolutely loved. I had the 2 of them in fantasy, and they won me several weeks because of just the beautiful combo of George is down there somewhere, huck it up. After the Bills, Bengals. I don't have to say anything other more than wow, 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 Lamar Jackson for what you do throwing the touchdown in and missing getting sacked, pushing, I believe it was Hubbard down to the ground and just being like, nope, roll out, stiff arm block him, look, see I like Isaiah Likely, chuck it in, touchdown. Oh, that was beautiful. But 38 points and Jamar Chase went off on us that game. Pass defense, horrible. Next game after that, Commanders, 23 points. Can't hate it. I mean, Jaden Daniels in his rookie year, but that's a great team, and let up 23. Game after that, Bucks, 31. That game, the ending score is a lot closer than what it makes it seem a lot closer than what it was. I mean, it sort of took off there, and some of those points came just garbage time. Then the loss to the Cleveland Browns, 24-29, and this is just another example of the what are the Ravens doing moment when you miss an interception that would win you the game, and instead you end up losing. Then you play the Broncos, 41-10. Only touchdown they got was throwing to Bo Nix in that game on the goal line. Great play call, by the way, but beat you. Love the defense that game. Next game after that, Cincinnati Bengals again, 35-34. Ja'Marr Chase went off that game again. Then you lost to the Steelers, 16-18, but that's Steelers-Ravens rivals. Everyone knows how that goes. Then you had the Chargers, 30-23, and the Eagles, 19-24, and that was a game where the offense never went and got going until it was too late, and then it just was too late. Then you had the Giants, Steelers, Texans, and Browns, and I mean, playing the Giants 35, winning, nothing to brag about there. I'm sorry, Giants fans, but your team was not built to win at the time. It just was not there. Steelers 34-17, and we'll go on to bully them in the playoffs in the first round before we get kicked out by the Bills. And then the Texans 31-2. That was a game where the defense was on, and the only points we gave up was because Derrick Henry had a safety in the end zone, but the defense was on that game. And then the Browns 35-10. And this is really the shift. There's a shift in this year is why the defense looks so good last year, is that the first part of the year, the defense is horrible. Bad. I just, there's no other way describing it. And then we pull Kyle Hamilton. I don't know what Zach Orr was trying to do with the defense at that time, really. I was watching games and trying to figure out what we were doing, and just our schemes were not working. And then we put Ardarius Washington back in there, and you get Kyle Hamilton on the backfield and stop taking him off the line, and the defense looked different. It really did. And that gave confidence to us all again. And then you flash forward to this year, and the pickup we made with Jair Alexander going through the offseason. I remember reading when we picked up Jair, and I was like, oh my gosh, we got Jair. This is going to be great. FYI, it does not turn out great at all. And I'm thinking, you have Nate Wiggins, you have Marlon Humphrey, you have Jair Alexander, Gilman, like you have so much out there. And then you draft Malachi Starks, and you go, we have Darius Washington, Malachi Starks, Kyle Hamilton, and we can just build this secondary with Roquan Smith, and you add Teddy Buchanan, who's nobody thought was going to have the season he did, but turned out to be great, and then Trenton Simpson in at rotation, and you can just have a defense nobody's going to stop. And then that D-line, you're hoping, bring pressure. And we should have seen it last year, the D-line, looking at and seeing the inconsistency that was the pass rush and going after the quarterback, and thought maybe this will carry over into this year. And then you move on to this year, and that's, you're in this year now, and you go to the 24th overall ranked defense. We let up 6,027 yards, which any of you are doing math is more than 500 yards that we let up than the year prior. That's a substantial amount. 5 football fields long of yards that you're letting up, which is horrible. I mean, you go from letting up 324 yards per game to letting up 354 yards per game. We let up 4,214 passing yards, 1,800 rushing yards, 248 passing yards a game is what we're letting up, which for any of you are comparing is about 4 more yards per game that we're letting up through the air. And then our rushing defense also takes a step back and gets ranked to 10th from, I guess the one thing to say is our passing defense got ranked better. It went from 31st to 30th, but that's because the Bengals were horrible. Their defense was shambles. It's what you get when you spend most of your salary cap on 3 players between Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, and T. Higgins. They put to the theory of the test that you can win a Super Bowl without a defense, and I think everyone sees the answer now, is you cannot win a Super Bowl without a defense. So, I mean, we felt that too. We did not have a defense this year. We were letting up 106 rushing yards per game. So a total of 354 yards per game we were letting up. We were letting quarterbacks against us have a 63.8% completion rate and 89.6 QBR rating, which is a little better than last year, but I think that also comes from the fact that we had some games against teams that this year that were not, I'm going to say the Browns, and some other games where, I mean, we just, the defense looked good, but it's against a team that just is not good. If you calculate all this out, it's about, through the air per attention they got, it's about 7 yards we were giving up per attention, and we were giving up about 11 yards per reception. We let up 399 receptions, which is 3 more than last year. And we let up 198 first downs through the air, which is less than last year. So you let up less through the air, but you let up more on the ground. We let up 64 20 or longer yard passing plays. That's not saying 40 yet. 64 20 yards or longer pass plays, 9 40 or more. 62 was the longest. That's much worse than last year. I mean, you go from 58-6 to 64-9. 6 more of 20 and 3 more of 40 or more. Rush, you go from letting up 3.5 yards a carry last year. No, sorry, 3.6, 3.5. It's one of the two. To 4.2 yards a carry. You're letting up 109 first downs on the ground. 12, 20 or longer, 1 of 40 or longer. Longest was a 72-yard rush. We were the 18th scoring defense. We are letting up 23.4 points a game. Last year we were letting up 21.2, so you make a regression in that. We got 11 interceptions to 9 forced fumbles, which there was 12 interceptions last year and 5 fumbles recovered. So you go fumble recoveries up by 4, but you lose 1 interception. We let up 44 touchdowns allowed, which is not 44, 42 total touchdowns allowed, which is 3 more than last year. 18 of them are rush, 23 of them are passing. We had 30 sacks. We weren't getting after the quarterback at all, really. We had 44 HUR hurry-ups where the quarterback just has to get it out. And we had 73 pass deflections versus 82 last year. So you're also making a regression there. I mean, the only thing where we really didn't make a regression was in the red zone defense and the third down defense. Last year it was 39.8%. This year, 37.8%. Ranked 11th. I mean, you do a little better there. I like that. And red zone defense this year was 50.6, ranked in the 6th. Last year, 52.9. You make a little regression there, but you're staying good. But that's just the trend since Zach Orr has come on in 2 years. And I think that the administration within the Ravens facility has a lot of confidence in Zach Orr because he's been with the organization so long, and they feel like, oh, we know him, we know what he's capable of. And people describe him as being this confident young guy that maybe just has some things that needs to be figured out, and if you give him some reinforcements, he'll figure it out. I don't think that's it at all. You look at what's being shown, and it is not what is being shown. The reads on the field are wrong. You're letting up yards when you shouldn't let up yards. You're making the incorrect plays. I mean, when you play teams that you should be beating and you're just not, it's bad. And when you look at the schedule from this year, yeah, we had a really front-heavy loaded schedule where you look, we went Bills, Browns, Lions, Chiefs, Texans, Rams. First 6 games with the 7th week bye. Those are 5 tough games, 1 game that was not tough at all. But you go 1-5. And you let up 41 points to the Bills, which you were leading in that game by a lot, and the defense lets it up for the Bills to come back and win. The Browns game was 41. Sorry, Browns fans. You have an experiment at quarterback right now between whether you should start Gabriel or you should start Shedeur, which I'm interested to see what the Browns go forward and do with that, especially since Stefanski is gone. And I feel bad for Stefanski of the fact that that losing team really... I mean, at some point you got to think, okay, well, yeah, the coach too is part of that. Just the same way for the Ravens. I don't want to make excuses for what happened there. But there's a big difference between what's happening at the Ravens with the roster we have and what the Browns did with trading for Deshaun Watson and committing to that. And we all know how that shaped out, and now you're in quarterback purgatory because of that trade, and Stefanski had no choice, and just that the owner was like, I want Deshaun. And you gave up Baker Mayfield. And now Baker Mayfield is laughing at the Browns because he's on Tampa Bay going, haha, I have the last laugh. I threw out my arm that year getting you to the playoffs, and you didn't want me. And now he makes it back into the playoffs again and again on Tampa Bay. Good for you, Baker. And I'm going to say this first few games before Lamar gets injured, offense is clicking. 41, 30 the game after. He kept it close against the Lions, even though the offense had its moments where it ran and just sort of stumbled. You're moving. And then crash and burn. You play the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. And Lamar gets injured in the Kansas City Chiefs game, and the Chiefs put 37 points on us. They're not even going to make the playoffs this year. And Chiefs are going into a rebuild year. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is an amazing quarterback. No other way of saying it. I mean, Ravens fans, we all hate him, but he's a good quarterback. They're losing Travis Kelce. Their wide receiver room, Rashee Rice, he's there, but you need to figure out a little help at running back. You need to add more depth at wide receiver. They're going to have glaring cap space issues and holes that need to be filled on the offense and the defense. I think they're going to need a year or two. You never know. They could turn around real quick. I mean, the Patriots have done it. Took them a few years, and now they're back to being a dominant force. But you play the Chiefs, lose to them, then you go to the Houston Texans. You lose 10-44 after the previous year, letting up only 2 points to them because of a safety. And that game was at home. They did to us what we did to them last year in Houston. And they did it to us. And then you play the Rams and lose 3-17, and you looked at the defense, you're like, defense is doing well. They held the Rams to 17, and the offense went to garbage town because you had Cooper Rush in the backfield there trying to throw, and that was not working. And Lamar was injured, and the run just wasn't working at the time either. And Derrick Henry wasn't figuring it out, and Patrick Ricard was out too, and Patrick Ricard is essentially a sixth lineman in the backfield. I mean, there's no other way describing him. And then you play the Bears, and you put in Snoop Huntley, and you win 30-16. Good win there. Complimentary football. Taking what's given to you. Defense is reading it. Then you win against the Dolphins, 28-6. Sorry, but Dolphins are not that good. Then you beat the Vikings, 27-19. Love the offense. I mean, you are facing a top 5 defense this year. They were ranked number 3, letting up 282 yards a game, 32 touchdowns allowed. So you're facing the 3rd best defense in the league, and you win. You beat them. Now the offense for the Vikings, horrible. The J.J. McCarthy experiment is not turning out well for them right now, and you could say injuries. I just watched him try and read the field, and there's moments he just doesn't read it well at all. I don't think there's other way around that right now. I think he either needs more time, or Vikings got to be thinking, do we get a quarterback again, and go searching for another, which does bring up interesting points of maybe they pull what the Vikings have always done well and just go take a Green Bay quarterback, and you go for that backup quarterback who threw so well on us in the 17th, second to last game of the year. What's his name? Malik Willis. Grab him, and I think he'd be a serviceable quarterback maybe. Could demand a little more money, especially with how he's performed this year, but it's looking good, looking better than he was on the Titans. And so you beat the Vikings, and you play the Browns again, you beat them. That's a game where they had to swap out Dylan Gabriel, put in Shedeur Sanders. And then you play the Jets and you beat them. But I look at that game and I go, Dolphins, at the time, they were under 500. Vikings, they were under 500 at the time too. Somehow a team that had a horrible start to the year ending above 500. Vikings there, thanks to that defense. I'm going to be 100% honest. They had a rock bottom offense. Horrible offense. Then you go to the Browns and somebody who has a good defense but a horrible offense. And then you play the Bengals and you lose to them. Lose to them at home when Joe Burrow came back. 14-32. Offense was just not clicking. Didn't look good. Defense couldn't stop anything. That's a game where the offense should have been able to go all over the Bengals defense. I mean, the worst defense in the league. And you only score 14 points on them? Cry me a river. And then you lose 22-27 to the Steelers. And you look at that, and yeah, you had a reverse touchdown call. But where's the defense stepping up there, too? Offense, moments where it stalled out. Cincinnati Bengals again, then you beat them 24-0 in Cincinnati, which was a good win. Complimentary football there. I'll give you that. But worst defense in the league, that's what you should do to them. Then you lose to the Patriots 24-28, and this is mismanagement galore in this game. You're talking, you have Derrick Henry for rushing 7 yards per carry. And John Harbaugh goes, it's the second to last drive. We're in the final quarter. Derrick Henry is rushing 7 yards per carry. This is also what Todd Monken's thinking. What do? Let's stick to the running back rotation and put in Rashid Ali and Keaton Mitchell. And guess what happens? Neither of them really run it, and we go, Snoop Huntley, throw the ball, please. And it doesn't work. We lose, being ahead. We were ahead by 2 scores at one point. And we lost because we just wouldn't hand the ball to Derrick Henry. Then we hand the ball to Derrick Henry and beat the Packers on the back of Derrick Henry. I mean, you rushed for over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. He creamed the Packers. And the defense got thrown on. I mean, you let up 2 rushing touchdowns to Malik Willis and over 270 passing yards. Not that many incompletions. And a passing touchdown. And then you lose to the Steelers 24-26. And that is this year. That is the year of non-complimentary football, coaching mismanagement, defensive mismanagement, and so on. I mean, as much as I'm touting on the defense, the offense has its problems too. I think there's been some mismanagement by John Harbaugh and Monk and not running the ball and some of the play calling that was going on in the games. The offensive line let Lamar get hit way too many times. He went and as much as Lamar is in the backfield, can extend plays and does things like that, and can break sacks, how many times he was getting hit was ridiculous. And it led to him getting injured multiple times. And so there's problems with the O-line there, and I'm calling out Daniel Faalele there a little bit. I know some people love him, but you got to call out multiple on that. He was not the only one. That last game when Lamar threw and was able to get that touchdown, 60-yard plus touchdown to Zay Flowers, both the edges collapsed there. It was bad. And they got in both sides. Injuries and just some dumb mistakes. I want to say a little bit that, this is a problem that I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson both struggle with at times, is that they are used to being this generational quarterback, of which they are generational quarterbacks. Is both of them what they do, really nobody else can do to this way they do it. It gets to their heads sometimes. And Lamar's talked about this and been talked to in the past, where you just got to go back to the basics. Run the ball a little bit more. Do what made you successful. Run it. Take what they give you. And he's gotten in this point where everyone said, I'm not a passer. You're not a passer. You're not a passer. You're not a passer. And he's like, I am a passer. I'm going to show everyone. And last year he showed everyone. Really did. I mean, multiple of those interceptions he had last year were off deflections. It should not have been interceptions. And he could have had one of the very best interception to touchdown ratio in NFL history. And this year he's trying to do it again. He's trying to create time in the backfield, which is what he does well. But he's not feeling 100%. But he's trying to create time in the backfield and just heave it down the field. At least incompletions, some interceptions, and just misplayed ball. And I think Lamar needs to realize that he does not need to play hero ball all the time. He is an amazing quarterback. And everyone should respect how amazing he is. The players do. Even whether the NFL community and announcers don't want to respect him, I think at some point you have to be like, there's nobody else that can do what he does at times. But he needs to take what's given to him. And instead of trying to throw a 15, 20, 30, 40-yard pass, if you just see the flat is open, quick out route, just something's open that's, I can get 5, 6, 7 yards out of it. Doesn't look flashy, but it keeps you alive another down. And it may even give you the first down, which keeps you alive another at least 3 more downs if you don't make a mistake. that you get to try and get a first down. If not 4, if you get close enough and go for it. So you get more downs. And at times he just needs to be able to take what is given to him and not try and play hero ball all the time. And I went into some of the stats for the Ravens offense this season, and we were putting up 349.3 total yards a game, 192 through the air, 156 on the ground. And a lot of that came through Derrick Henry. 24.9 points per game. We had 47 touchdowns in total, 23 passing, 23 rushing, and then special teams. We had 314 first downs in total, 146 rushing, 141 passing, and 27 by penalty. So I'm not going to say it's a horrible year, but the passing yards went down, especially compared to last year, and you would like those passing yards to be there, especially with Lamar, like how Lamar likes to play this option and zone running. You do the run to set up the pass and get it going. Just didn't work this year. I mean, we were getting first downs pretty well at times. There was a lot of times we stalled out, especially in that Steelers game in the first half. We stalled out bad. Our time of possession was 29 minutes and 11 seconds averaged over the games, so a little under half. We had 12 fumbles lost, and we gave up 11 interceptions. Our turnover ratio was -3. And that just sort of shows, like, we were letting up. We were getting 349.3 total yards per game, and then we were letting up 354.5. So our teams are automatically averaging more than what we're getting. So there's that. And that was our season. That was our season. Incompetency at times, injuries, mismanagement, players not being able to step up at the times they were needed to. I think there's debates around whether or not Humphrey really is what he used to be. I know he says he still believes he can play high-level football, and there's only one way to find out about that. It's you got to play again, and you got to show that you can play high-level football. He even admitted he did not play up to his standards this year. But I don't want to hear the excuses about injuries hampering the team. I don't want to hear excuses from the coach that they tried their hardest when trying your hardest should be better than what we did. Because you're not trying your hardest when some of those plays, you see some of those plays, and you just go, what was that? And that was our season. So that was a little recap of our season. Zach Orr and his attempt to run a defense that just was failing, and Harbaugh and Monken just fumbling the bag on the offense. But I want to get into a little what's happened since we've lost, and that was a few days ago. We had Black Monday, where quite a few coaches across the league lost their jobs. And just yesterday, on the 6th of January, the Baltimore Ravens surprised me in what I had been thinking about for a long time and wanting to happen, especially with that loss against the Steelers. And what I thought was highlighted was that an 18-year-long head coach for us at Russ, and the fan base had grown to respect him a lot until recently, is that you look at John Harbaugh, and he was fired at the beginning of the season, being given a 3-year extension. We let him go. Biscotti says, we're done. We're letting you go. And I think that was the decision going forward. Is that not just the decision, it is the decision, but it's the best decision going forward. It's because you look at 18 years, 1 Super Bowl, lots of playoff appearances, but oh boy, how many games have you lost being up by 2 points or 2 scores or more and losing in the end? And it says one thing to have a team that can get in that position, but it says another for fumbling the bag and losing those games. And at some point after 18 years, the teams that we've had, only having 1 Super Bowl hurts when you think you could have at least 1, if not 2 more. And you need something new at that point, especially when how the season's been going. Somebody needs to say, it's not just players, it's the coaching staff, and the coaching is not upholding the standards of the team. The coach is not putting them into situations and coaching them up to perform to how they're supposed to be performing. And John Harbaugh is let go, which I think was the best decision for the team going forward. And now normally, when I look at this, normally teams have your head coach gets fired, and you swap what your head coach was. So if you have an offensive-minded head coach, you swap to a defensive-headed, like, thinking mind coach, head coach. And if you have a defensive head coach. You swap it then to an offensive head coach. John Harbaugh was really more of a special teams coach, especially head coach. And so you really go either way with this. And so there's some obvious forerunners to this. I think, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, you look at Brian Flores and what he's done with that Vikings defense. It's amazing. I mean, he blitz heavy. I mean, the number one blitzing team in the NFL with a 47.1% ratio of blitzing. You blitz 47.1% of the time. It's crazy. But the groups he puts out there with the linebackers and throwing them out in these nickel and dime packages and disguising looks and then bringing heavy pressure and creating havoc in the backfield. It's a very disciplined offense, though. You got to know the fundamentals to do it. I love watching the Ravens, not just the Ravens, the Vikings, and their defense this year. I was very impressed by their defense and what Flores has been able to accomplish with it. And I think you bring him into Baltimore and he stabilizes the defense. He works with the pieces he has, and you definitely have these pieces that are they're solid. You have a lot to work with. You have Trenton Simpson, who can be more of a run stopper. Buchanan, who is your more side-to-side linebacker that can go into pass coverage. You have Roquan Smith as play caller back there in the center. And you can do these packages, especially with Kyle Hamilton there and hopefully Darius Washington coming back and Malachi Starks. And you can do some good combinations. And I think Flores could really be a stabilizing force for the defense and bringing the defense back. What wins champion? It's the defense. And the Ravens were always touted as being these bully ball defenses. We lost that, especially when you consider the fact that you're playing the Browns for the second time this past year, and Jerry Jeudy has asked the question, well, what problems do the secondary of the Ravens present? And he goes, nothing. You've lost all respect at that point. Nobody fears the defense anymore, which is what it was known for being, feared. Brian Flores, maybe he could bring that back. I think he could. The other thought when you're looking at this for head coach is maybe you don't go defensively. You look at this and you look at the offense and consistency and how the offense has performed over these past few years and the times when it fumbles and players are trying to make the complex plays and do this and that. And I mean, I'm sorry, but the fumbles you've had at times where you're trying to do something more and try and make something out of it and you just fumble the bag. Simplicity is better sometimes because you get more yards out of it too. And you don't fumble the ball. Maybe a little simplicity sometimes would be better. And I have the utmost respect for Zay as a player and what he's able to do and the speed he can bring out there at times and his shiftiness. I mean, great player. Sometimes needs to focus just a little more on the simple things. But if you want more consistency with the offense, look in conference. Not just in conference, in division. The Browns just fired Stefanski. And Stefanski and Lamar would be this absolute pairing. Stefanski's bread and butter is double tight end out there, I formation, zone running, read option passing, all of this. That is Lamar. And so you have a proven offensive success, 2-time head coach of the year, and you can bring him in, and he could be a stabilizing force for this offense, and you just have to make the right choice for a defensive coordinator at that point. And I think that could be a great pairing right there. I mean, the pieces for that offense are already there. He doesn't need to bring money in. Maybe you shore up the O-line a little bit, add some depth there. But the pieces are there. Lamar, Derrick Henry for another year, Justice Hill for passing too, Ali, Keith Mitchell, Zay Flowers, Bateman, 2 tight ends right now, as long as we can get Likely back. It could be a great combination. But the Ravens today got some interesting news coming out about them, is that they called in the Dolphins defensive coordinator for an interview, Anthony Weaver, and we have also called in son of Gary Kubiak, Clint Kubiak, for an interview. He's the OC of the Seahawks, son of a former OC for the Ravens. Has helped lead the Seahawks to a historic year under a former Ravens defensive coordinator. Brought the most out of JSN, has brought the most out of Sam Darnold. Some wide experience under some pretty big coaches. You can't ignore what he's done with the offense, and I think he could be another really good choice if you want to stabilize the offense. Great to be in the conversation. I think Anthony Weaver is just in the conversation because was a former Raven, was on the coaching staff for a while, respected within the community. I personally don't think he would be my number one choice going forward in this. I mean, he has to be part of the conversation. I don't think he would be my choice. I would much rather have Clint over him. Those are just three. Some others going around. Vance Joseph, who's the Broncos DC, and what he's done with the Broncos defense. Got a good defense. Front chaos. He's playing match in the secondary with leverage. Early down focus, making sure that they don't get anywhere near being able to be third and short. It's trying to be third and long. Could be good in there. Or you can also look at the Chargers DC, Jesse Minter. Loves doing post-snap changes. Another aggressive blitzes from positions that are not traditional for blitzing. He loves the safety blitzing, which so do we right now with Kyle Hamilton. That would fall right into place there. Mixing coverages, mixing run defense. Has a really interesting second down splitting of what he likes to run. Really likes his core group of plays. Same thing, he's been part of the Raven community too. So I think that's a really good fit to maybe in there. And I think my two top choices would still be Brian Flores and Stefanski. But we won't know that for a little bit. Interviews are just going to start up. I'll try my best to keep up to date constantly with that. That's going to be one of the main things moving forward right now, is analyzing who the next head coach of the Ravens will be. So we'll stay up to date on that and keep moving forward with how that looks. But the bigger question is, whoever we hire as head coach is, I just went into all these stats of the previous year, and you got to think about, you bring in a DC head coach or an OC head coach, it's going to influence how you look and who you try and pick up for coordinators. And it's whether or not you keep our current coordinators in the staff or in the loop. And I think if you bring in Flores or Stefanski or anyone, I really look at Orr and I still don't want him there. I think you got to clean house with this. Monken made some interesting choices with the offense this year in the play calls, and you could argue that, well, the injuries hampered what he could or could not do with it, and I would say, well, that shouldn't matter. You should be able to perform how you perform and be able to make adaptations. I think sometimes you got a little too fancy and tried pushing for plays down the field that just weren't going to be open. You got to be able to recognize what you have, look at the stats, and adapt and change. Sometimes that just doesn't happen. And I think whoever you bring in, it's clean house a little, and you got to look at replacing Orr for the defense that he's made over these past 2 years. Especially if you bring in a defensive-minded head coach like Flores or Minter or Joseph. You got to clean that a little. It's a different style of defense, or it's going to want to run a little bit, and I want that gone. And I think bringing in somebody new at OC, just giving fresh opinion to this whole team would be beneficial. I would just like to thank everyone for listening to this podcast. I know it's still a work in progress. Don't have much light above me. Well, I do. I need to get a ring light, so I'll be getting one of those. I'm just waiting for it to come in right now. I'm going to get a camera to help bring the quality up a little bit. It's just coming in right now. So as stuff comes, you'll see some changes happen, and maybe the location of where the camera is and how the background looks. We'll change it up, make it look a little better. But I appreciate everyone for joining in for the first ever podcast. I know it may not be the best right now, but I promise you it will get better. Can't start anywhere but with your first one. You just got to try it and go forward and look at it and continue to change and make adaptations. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Join me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm going to start posting there. Got a YouTube account. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, Spotify, leave some reviews. I'll talk back and forth. I want some discussion and dialogue. I'd love to have everyone around for the journey. Thanks for joining in on this first episode, and I will talk to you all again soon. Have a great day.